Following a season 2 that was honestly very similar to season 1, there are guys on this team with talent, but overall the team is just not coming together. Offensively, we need a quarterback to lead us, and defensively, we need a defensive line to really step up, as every other level of that defense has some guys. But we finished season 2 with just 3 wins as we hit our next offseason. And as we begin today's episode, we wrap up taking a look at the Super Bowl and some other awards, and it is a division rival, Seattle Seahawks, who win 37-31, their second ever Super Bowl, with Trevor Lawrence as the Super Bowl MVP. Now, that might seem a little bit like some deja vu, because last year they were also in the playoffs, though they lost that one 35-28 to the Chargers. So we have a very tough opponent in our own division that we need to beat. You can see the yearly awards over on the right hand side. We did not have anyone really in any contention, nor did we have a single Pro Bowler. As for retirees, we did have one, and it is Taysom Hill. In his last career season, he did get to go back and play some quarterback. He had a couple good games and then a couple games that weren't very good. We ended up putting Zach Wilson back out there so he could try to develop, but quarterback is a big need for us. Though quarterback is not going to be the first thing we are addressing. We have 112 mil and we have to re-sign some players. Jalen Johnson is a big need for us. We need to secure him. He's our best cornerback. We also have Clark Phillips, who's a young guy who just really hasn't been able to get out there much, though want to make sure we keep around as good of depth as possible. Tyler Huntley is eligible to get a new contract, though I feel like we might be moving off of that. We might still try to bring him back. We do need to bring back Brandon Daniels, Mac Flower. We need as many of these young guys we could develop and keep developing, so we have a decent depth for us, though there's a lot of guys here who don't have a whole lot of interest. Bobby Wagner did not retire. He has regressed down to a 78. We'll see where that puts him in line with some of our other linebackers. But we're going to re-sign some guys here. Probably going to let go a lot of these guys who don't have a lot of interest, but these top 2 are the main priority. So Jalen Johnson, he wants 3 years, about 16 and a half mil per season. Well, we could bump that up a year for sure. We could definitely raise up some of this money as well. Again, because he doesn't have a whole lot of interest, we're going to have to pay him a good bit, and we can make it 18 mil per season. He just doesn't like the fact that we're not a very historical winning team. He does, however, value high money, so we could definitely offer that with the 18 mil. And he doesn't really like Arizona, but we'll see if he sticks with this. And we have back our top corner. As for that other corner in Clark Phillips, very similar here, just not a whole lot of interest. It's not a necessity that we keep him around, though I would like to secure him for a good little bit. So again, we'll boost up the money a little bit, 4 years, 4 mil per season, and he will return. As for the guard in Brandon Daniels, he's one of our starters, so we need to make sure we keep him around. He does have interest, which works out well for us. We're also going to boost up the offer here, and we do bring him back. Now, everyone else here, we've said that we are not interested in right now. We are probably going to come back to most of all of these guys. So Tyler Huntley, Mac Flower, Dax Milne, Christopher Wharton, Ilm, I think, Manning, Bradley Ane, Jonah Williams, Renell Wren, Dane Cruikshanks, Bobby Wags, and Matt Gay. Not signed now, but again, I imagine we will in open free agency. So let's get over to open free agency and see what we can get going. And we ended up having a pretty quick, mostly easy open free agency, though we did miss out on one target, and that was at running back. I was trying to bring in someone to help out. There was Jamal Williams, who originally was interested in coming here, though he got a offer that was just better than what I wanted to give from the Patriots, so he ended up going there. As for the guys that we did end up signing, we did bring back Matt Gay, brought in Rashid Shaheed, so we're running 4 deep at receiver. We just need a quarterback who could throw to him. Bobby Wags does come back. We did bring back Tyler Huntley. We brought in Kyle Van Noy. We have not used him yet. He has some power rush ability, and he very well could line himself up in a starting role. We did bring back Mac Fowler, and we did bring back Jonah Williams. So not a whole lot of new, couple guys, but mostly just bringing back some guys who are at least starters or rotational guys. But now we can focus towards the draft, and unfortunately this was a class that was a little bit disappointing. A lot of the guys available to us weren't as good as we were hoping. We can start here with Jamichael Blade. Great name, 6'3", 222, a physical receiver, 22 years old. I mean, decent athlete, but nothing flashy, but he definitely is a work in progress, and receiver is probably our deepest position that we have, so definitely not going to be pushing to bring in Blade, but if he's there, we could pick him up. The one player that did live up to expectations is at center, though, in Gavin Richter. A round 1 to 2, a true round 1 to 2, a power offensive lineman who's 6'4", 319, 21 years old, out of Utah. Good discipline, high motor, has some strength, overall a pretty decent athlete across the board. Gonna have a little bit less finesse, but overall, I'm seeing a good amount of A's in there with a mix of B's. As long as he doesn't get injured, knock on wood, he could definitely be a great guy for us. So he is at the top of our board due to the fact that the top 5 player is actually around 2 to 3 in Adrian Sharp, an outside linebacker, an edge rusher who is 6'4", 253, 22 years old, out of Arizona State. He has a whole bunch of notes. You could pause, read if you would like, but he has some speed, he has some strength, he's a solid athlete. He does have A, power moves, and B, block shed, so I'm not quite understanding why he's around 2 to 3. The awareness is a B, same as the play rec. He could tackle. He's not injury prone. All looks like it should be pretty good. So he's definitely going to be high up on our board as well, just because we need as much help for this defensive line. But considering he was projected top 5, we're definitely going to have to check out the mock draft to see roughly where they're placing him. The other defensive lineman was also a little bit of a letdown in Damian Weeks. Around 3 to 4 projection is actually a day 3 talent. Now he does at least have some ability. He's not super strong, but he's quick. He's a quick guy. He does have B, finesse moves, C, power moves. He's just not going to shed blocks very easily. But again, if he's available at around a spot where we can take him, we could definitely bring him in. And we do have a possible backup strong safety in Eric Kennard. He's listed at free, but I feel like he fits better at strong. He's 5'11", 216, 23 years old, out of Utah. He's not very fast, so honestly, he might even need to switch to a backup linebacker role, which would be fine because he does have a block shed. He's not a great cover guy. His tackling is a C, though, so he would be at most a backup. But someone, again, we could consider if we have some extra picks. And speaking of picks, we do have 2 in the first round. The 2nd overall pick and the 30th overall pick, and then 4 more picks later, we're back on the board. So we have 4 picks in the top 100, though. There's at best 2 guys to pick in that spot. I would think, depending on where guys are lining up, because again, we'll check the mock draft, we might have to go with that outside linebacker early on here, maybe even trade back a little bit, again, depending on where they're expected to go, and then the center with the next selection. So it all kind of depends on that mock draft. And funnily enough, it has us listed with a potential undrafted quarterback going with that 2nd spot, which definitely is not going to happen. But looking for Sharp, he is listed as going at that 6th spot. So it looks like we are going to have to overdraft for Adrian Sharp and just go ahead and pick him up with that 2nd spot. As for the center that we like, it has him going down at our 30th pick. So we may not have to trade up. It would be really unfortunate if we do miss out on Gavin Richter, but mock draft 5 is normally pretty accurate, though we're going to end up messing it up from the very get-go, as we will have to take Adrian Sharp earlier than that 6. So I think it's just going to have to be fingers crossed that no one comes up and takes our center. Well, with all that being said, let's get this draft officially underway. The first overall selection is going to the Cleveland Browns, and they pick up Dalton Josephson, a right tackle out of Ohio State. And again, according to that mock draft, our outside linebacker can go early, and I don't want to miss out on as much talent as we can. So it's a position of need. It's going to be an overdraft, but he's going to most likely be starting. So Adrian Sharp. is a hidden dev with 80 speed, 80 strength, 84 acceleration, 81 agility, 71 change of direction, and 78 jumping. If he's at least a 72 or higher with the hidden dev, I am perfectly happy with that. Now, we just have to hope that our center doesn't end up going. Again, they mocked him to us, though we kind of changed it up, going with Sharp earlier than expected, so I'm going to go through each of these picks individually. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever you do for good luck, that Richter stays on the board. And wow, I was jumping forward, actually had the game crash. So things are a little bit different than where we just were. And really the biggest difference between what we had just done and what has now done as I got us back to where we just were is that we no longer have Rashid Shaheed. He ended up signing with the Seahawks, but because it took us all the way back to the very beginning of this episode, the playoffs did not pan out the same. Seahawks did not win the Super Bowl, and our pick that we have is not the 30th, it's the 27th. Everything else I tried to have done exactly as it was before from what I knew, so things are a little bit different, but we're a couple picks from our selection. And the Carolina Panthers, with the 25th selection, they end up going with Pruitt, right tackle out of Washington State, which means we are one selection away from maybe getting our center here. As long as the Texans don't take him, which they go with a different offensive lineman, left tackle Blake out of Oklahoma, and we are on the clock and can select our guys. So no drama here in our first round. We got our guy early on that we knew we had to go after, and Gavin Richter still sitting here available for us. He is another hidden dev with 89 strength, 79 acceleration, and 68 speed. Maybe I should save here and then continue forward. And now, with that taken care of, we have a pick in a few selections, second in the second round. So let's just jump over to our spot here and see if there's anything we want to go after. I don't believe there was really any available guys for us in this range. Definitely not going with Jermichael Blade. It would definitely be a reach. And then we have some day threes. Damian Weeks is around 3 to 4. We could potentially go with him with that third round selection. But no, there is not much we could do here for the draft. At least we could trade back or maybe make a trade for a player. And the area that we need the most help at is at quarterback, and there is Jordan Love, 26 years old. He is a normal dev. He's got some solid accuracies. I mean, all around, he's a solid guy, 20th best quarterback in the league. In terms of his stats, 31 touchdowns to 13 interceptions last season. In the first year of this series, he didn't have a great year, 24 to 20. I don't know if they would really be up for any sort of trade, but let's at least see what our options are for picking up Jordan Love. Obviously, the best pick that we could give him right now is this second selection. So where does that leave us here? Honestly, not too far away. Now, with our remaining selections we have this year, we do have that third, though I would like to get the defensive lineman just because we need as much help there as possible. So let's toss in a 5 this year. We do not have a second rounder next year. We do have a second rounder in 2027. I'm curious to see where that would leave us here. And it's with a trade for a new quarterback, bringing in Love, and hopefully he does a whole lot better than in real life. So we have found ourselves 3 new starting players, all in the first 33, 34 selections of this draft. Obviously one not a draftee, but now we could jump to a whole round later, go to our third round, see if that defensive lineman is still available. Again, we are picking him up mostly because it's just an area of need for us. And he is still available. We know he's a day 3 talent, so it's going to be a reach. But our next selection isn't until the 6th round, and he could be gone by then. So going for just not desperation, but we have only older guys who keep getting older and they're not doing too much. So Damian Weeks is a normal dev, 82 strength, 79 speed. Hopefully, he has some good ratings. Now, jumping all the way to that 6th round pick, we have 3 more picks remaining. And Jermichael Blade is still there. We did not end up getting Shaheed because of the crash, so we could use potentially another receiver. Any other options? There is an offensive lineman who's potential undrafted, but day 3 might be able to get him in the 7th round. And then the free safety, who's probably actually more of a strong safety, maybe a linebacker. I think we go after Jamichael Blade here, although there is an interesting running back, Dylan Cox out of Hawaii. Not going to go with that yet. We're going to try to fill out some depth. We know Blade at least has some good release. Route running is very raw. I mean, overall, he's a very raw kind of talent here, but he's got some all right physicals, and we could use some depth at the spot. He's got some good size, so Blade is in with a normal dev. 65 strength, 91 speed, 87 jumping, 79 chin direction with 87 agility, and 88 acceleration. Now with that first 7th rounder, we do still have that safety, maybe linebacker hybrid. And the running back I was interested, he did already go. So anyone else here, also the potential undrafted offensive lineman that was day 3, he went as well. There's another guy here in Stroud, but might still be available. Go after Eric Kennard just for some depth and position flexibility perhaps, so why not? Let's go with Eric Kennard, the slow safety who might be able to fill in at linebacker with the A block shed. Normal dev, 84 speed with 89 acceleration, definitely fits some linebacker with 73 strength. You might do all right there. And with our final selection, where do we go? There is a potential undrafted quarterback, though he has F deep accuracy, so definitely not going there. Alan Thornton did go up 67 spots, but doesn't look all too intriguing out of Southern Utah. There are some offensive linemen available here, and there is another defensive lineman in George Burns, who does have B power moves, but F for block shed and D for finesse moves. There is a cornerback with really good press and a little bit of some zone coverage, potentially. Maybe he could even play some safety perhaps. Runs about a 4.5. All around pretty good athlete. Cover skills very much shading the side of the zone. Has a little bit of some tackle ability. Why not? Another guy who might provide some position flexibility for us. Eddie Evans is in, and he's a hidden dev. That's a nice pick to round this one out. Now let's go meet this squad. And it is not too bad considering the talent that was available here for us. So let's start at the top with Adrian Sharp. I said I wanted him to be at least a 72, 73. He's a 73. As for the individual ratings, he's coming in with 80 power moves and 76 block shed. Fantastic. Awareness and play rec, not too bad either. Tackling, fine. It's got some hit power. Hopefully he could get around the edge quickly, and we might now have ourselves someone who can make some big plays, because Malik Reed, who was really good for us season 1, fell off this last year. Sharp could go ahead and take his spot. As for the center, he's the highest of the 2 overalls with a 74, so just one higher. Needs to have that hidden dev, and he's a pretty well-balanced guy. Definitely gonna keep him on the inside, might even play a little bit of some guard. We'll see where he fits best, but the lead block and impact are looking pretty good. He is the 19th ranked center, just straight up at the draft. As for Damian Weeks, another position we needed help at, he's the normal dev, and he has some solid ratings. 76 finesse moves, 70 block shed with the help of our coaches. Definitely going to play, I feel like, more on the outside. He has some speed acceleration, a little bit of some strength. Definitely not going to be an interior defensive lineman for us. 97 injury. He's going to be durable at least. I feel like that's a solid selection for us. As for Jamichael Blade, one of the better names of the class, though only a 66 overall, does have some really good release at an 80. The route running, as expected, is really raw, but you might be able to develop it a little bit. He's not going to get extreme play time out the get-go, but he might be able to make some development. He has a little bit of some kick return ability after the catch ability, though at 6'3", 222, not quite sure he's going to be doing that. Now for the safety, and Eric Kennard. As a free safety, he is a 65. Now the block shedding is a 68 with 65 cover skills. Tackling is a 64, so he's definitely going to be raw at that. But if we change him over to an inside backer, we do see the overall dip a little bit down to 62. Everything outside the tackling I think is pretty solid for him at this spot, so we might keep him there, and he's probably just going to be a practice squad player for us this year. As for Eddie Evans, our surprise hidden dev player late, he's a 67 overall, and he definitely has a lot more zone than man as expected. The press is pretty good. I feel like he could be a backup safety for us, play a little bit of some hybrid, maybe a little bit of a slot guy if we do need it. So let's move him over to free. Does that raise up his overall at all? And it does, just a little bit. He's now up to a 68. So a better fit for him here. And yeah, I like the ratings, look a lot better there at free. And here is the starting lineup for season 3. Love is in at quarterback. We do still have Wilson. He could possibly be traded. We have Huntley again, someone who could possibly be traded. Now, I am potentially leaning towards maybe making a trade for another running back. Moss has been solid, but he's more of the power style, and we don't really have that main receiving agility kind of guy. Ayuk and Nakua are going to be the primary receivers on the outside. Dobbs will step in to play on the outside whenever we go to a 3 spread, as Nakua will then go to the slot. Next up, we're going to have Terrell, and then we also have Tim Patrick. And I did find, I want to say he was an undrafted rookie here in Jackson, who's actually looking pretty solid. Kincaid is our tight end. We still have N'Keal Harry playing tight end at a 75, and then Turner if we need that tight end 3. Offensive line, for the most part, is the same as last year outside of Richter, who is going to start at center this year, drafted as a center. We did have Hendricks starting last year, and he was solid, but we're going to go with the better guy, obviously, though Hendricks could eventually maybe get some playing time because Christensen is getting on the older side, regressing a little bit, but right now we're sticking with the highest overall guys across the board. Defensively, going to be a little bit different for the defensive line, as Weeks is getting the start at left end. If he does not do well, we could put Tonga in. Tonga is our main backup across the line. We have Spiller, who really shot up late on last season. He did get a development boost, though, then lost it after the season, back down to a normal, but he got a lot of upgrades. He's up to a 73 and is our second highest defensive lineman. Fotu is really just the run stopper down the middle, though we have a couple other guys that could slide into a similar role. Linebackers are Lloyd and Barton. One other change I forgot to mention after the crash is actually Bobby Wags retired this time around. So we do not have him. It is just Lloyd and Barton. And then we have Butler and Fowler. As for the edge rushers, we are going to start Sharp. Behind him, we have Van Noy on both sides. Diabate is going to get the start on the other side, and Malik Reed is down to our 3rd string for both because he didn't do much of anything last season. Safety's the same. Burgess is going to be the primary backup across the board, and he's also going to be a backup 5th string cornerback for us, but also be the second guy if we need, or if we go out in a dime, he's going to go out in the slot. So speaking of slot, still going to be Dennard. Again, Burgess the backup. The rush line is going to be slightly different. Sharp is going to be on the left end. If he doesn't perform, we do have Diabate. If neither perform, we do have Van Noy. Down the middle, we are going to have Spiller and Tonga. On the right side, we are going to have Weeks. If anyone is not performing, we could switch out. We did find an undrafted guy here in Burns, who actually has some good ratings, but the block shedding is not as good as Weeks, and their main pass rushing move about the same. So I'm going to give Weeks the start again. If he doesn't perform, we're going to move him out. Running back staying the same. Now, the reason I talked about maybe making a trade for a receiving style back is because Moss is a 66 overall for a 3rd down. So if we need some help there, we could look for it. Puka Nacua starting slot receiver, with Ayuk shifting there if we do come out with 2 that need to be out there, in which we could add another guy to the outside. Terrell is also one of the guys that can play some of the outside, some of the inside, kind of just wherever we need him. Special teams, I think, is the same as last year, so no real changes there. As for the upcoming draft, if we do end up needing to use it, we do not have any 1st round projected talent, and really just not a whole lot of top end guys across the board, though there is a running back in CJ Bowman I'm hoping is going to pan out. If he does look like he's going to be pretty good, then we don't need to make a trade for a running back, and then we could end up drafting him and have 2 running backs. There is another receiver around 3 to 4. We've really loaded up at receiver, so we don't really need any. As for the offensive line, no starting talent. There is a day 3 for the defensive line in Heath Denner. That's a very popular name, I feel like, in this series. There's an outside linebacker, Nate Baker, an inside linebacker who's a round 3 to 4 in Alonzo Johnson. Potentially, we could end up needing another one. Some of our backers are getting on the older side. Another day 3 outside linebacker in Cedric Wynn, and a free safety day 3. So we don't need a first round pick, which potentially we could use to maybe load up for more mid-round picks, as there are a lot more mid-round guys here, or use it to maybe make a trade to bring in an impact player. That is all going to depend on how this season goes and how some of those prospects end up developing as we get closer to the trade deadline. But we've gone through a whole lot of forming the team, and it's time to see how well they do. As we're going to jump in here against the LA Rams to open things up. It's a divisional foe. Easiest way to the playoffs is to win your division, so might as well start, hopefully, with a divisional win. Knock on wood, let's jump in. Offense out first, and we have changed playbooks going into this next season, using Cincinnati's rather than Arizona's, as we start with a handoff to Moss, who fights forward for a gain of 5. Hopefully with Richter right down the middle, we're going to see an improved offensive line play and be able to get all these receivers involved a lot more. That is what we hope for, though. It's 2 straight runs, leaving us with a 3rd and 3 after Walker Jr. gets the stop. And will probably be the first throw for Jordan Love here, as we're 3rd and 3. It's an empty set, a throw deep down the seam and knocked away, intended for Dobbs. But considering how much of a struggle it's been for us to win games this series, we're going for it here. 4th and 3. Hard count, no one jumps. Need an opening across the middle, though that ball thrown way too far downfield, and it's going to essentially be a short arm punt. And the Rams take over. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed as well, but the passing game in Madden has been kind of broken whenever the user is out there. Strikes us once again. Normally with the Rams franchise that we have, it's the other way around, as it's going to be a first down, a gain of 17, play 1. Kadarius Toney has done a fantastic job against us pretty much every time we've played against him, at least when we've watched. See if we could corral him any bit more, as there's a good tackle from Lloyd down the middle. And taking a look at this lineup here from the defense, I feel like it already has kind of changed what my depth chart is, though. There's a good stop. That is the first round rookie. The main reason that I'm worried about the lineup is because we should have a big number 90 out there, as we do here on 3rd and 9. Hopefully he can make a play. That is Spiller, as the blocking's pretty good, but there's the rookie. Back-to-back plays, 2 tackles for a loss, including the sack, and that maybe knocks him out of field goal range. Though they will test it. Kicking from about the 42 would be a 52-yarder to put him in front. It has the accuracy, and I believe that does go through. Hatcher puts him up by 3. But as we start our next drive, hopefully we're going to see a good bit more, as Jordan Love rushes for 7, and we don't pick it up despite picking up 3, 3rd and inches, which we get the next play with a gain of 7 to Moss. 12 yards go to Dalton Kincaid, our highest dev guy, I believe. On roster, no, we have one other star dev guy over on defense, but we don't have many, as it's a throwaway 3rd and 6. We get 7 to Romeo Dobbs, keeping this drive moving, and win with us down to the 27. Why not jump in from here? We have a lot of receivers, and that's primarily where I want this team to be running through. Not kind of irony intended there, I guess, as there is a flag, potential late hit perhaps, or not. Actually going to be holding on Christensen, one of the guys who is potentially going to be replaced. We'll see. 1st and 20 to play action roll, dumping this one off for Kincaid, who steps up and will pick up 3, leaving still a 2nd and long, of which we'll attack from under center with 2 receivers up top, 1 down to the bottom. We hand it off. Moss down the middle will get us closer to the original line of scrimmage, though. 3rd and 12. And we'll use the empty set once again. We got 3 up top, 2 down to the bottom, maybe even more than that, honestly, as we do find our target. First down catch inside the 15 goes to Tim Patrick. He didn't get involved much last year. He doesn't have a big role, but in the empty sets, if he could come through, that'd be great. As we're taking under 10 seconds here, handed off, cutting back down the middle, not gonna get by 21, who I believe had their interception on our first drive. Well, that will end the first quarter. So nothing flashy by any means. We're down 3, but looking to tie, if not take the lead. And that's just as long as nothing goes crazy here as we start that second quarter. 2nd and 8. We got 2 down to the bottom. We handed off Moss down the middle. Gonna pick up a solid few yards there, make it 3rd and short. And honestly, from here, I'm feeling like it might be a 2-down situation. We'll see if we get a 4th down, though. We're at the 5. It will be a throw. Knocked away. 3rd and 4 from the 5. Probably safer to try to tie this one up. So we'll send out Gay. If it was like 4th and 1, I would go for it. But let's ensure we tie this game up here as the field goal matches. And we'll see if this defense can keep it matched here, as it's now 3-3 in the second quarter. We have a 3rd and 1, and they get 6 to Eckler. 1st and 10. 5 more yards Eckler, leaving 2nd and 5, and another rush by Eckler with another 1st down at about midfield. Kadarius Toney picks up 7, and then losing 3, Eckler leaves 3rd and 6. But it's fine. They get 11 to Chenault Jr. Picking up 2 more yards. They're just inside the 35 for a 3rd and 8. Can our defense get the stop? No, we give up 12, and let's jump in from there. With a tight set Rams down to the 23. I'd like to see some sacks from this line here. We got 1 in the first drive, though it's wide open running room. Going to be close to, but not quite the 1st down. Williams gets the stop. I'm really hoping some of these young defensive linemen continue to play well. Obviously, we've seen it from the rookie outside backer. As they dump this one off, picking up the 1st, shaking a couple tacklers down inside the 5. Mayer nearly getting that one in the end zone. Williams with the tackle, as now we see a heavy set from the Rams. They'll go with a power run towards the top, and filling it well is Lloyd. Tackle for maybe a loss of 1. And as the 2-minute warning hits, both teams do have all 3 timeouts. The Rams lined up here to take a lead, as long as nothing goes crazy for them, as they roll, and finding their open target, Deebo Samuel puts them in front. So with 1:51 on the clock, what does Jordan Love have in store? As we do have another empty set. There's 4 up top, 1 down to the bottom. We will go on the crossing route. Dobbs does manage to just get out of bounds, or apparently not. They let the clock keep rolling. Looked like that elbow landed out to me, but maybe they say the knee touched first. Either way, it's moving, as we're moving with another catch to Dobbs. That time definitely landing inbounds after the stop. Keeping those timeouts in our back pocket, though. We got a tight shotgun look here. Eventually we'll snap it. There we go. Wasting some time, apparently. The throw down to the bottom. It is dropped, intended for Tim Patrick. He's honestly out there a lot more than I thought he would be. 2nd and 10, 1:01 on the clock. Another quick throw down to the bottom. Gonna find and held onto despite the big hit. Dalton Kincaid with the catch and the 1st timeout called. Well, we're definitely seeing signs of this offense able to move a lot more smoothly than it did last year, even in season 1, as it's 3rd and short. Slant is off the mark. Just another instance of Madden passing just being very weird this year. As we're going for it, 4th and 3. We have a couple options, but they cover those pretty well. We got a guy on the outside. Good throw that time. Going to be Kincaid, who gets the 1st down and out of bounds at the 27. Now we just need to make sure that this team does not waste this opportunity. Want to level it up before half. We got 2 spread to the top, 1 to the bottom. Get rid of it before the sack comes in. It's Moss with a short gain. Quick timeout called. We have 1 more remaining. 38 seconds left. We're at the 24. Be another throw from Love as they bring an extra guy, and knocked away despite us having an open with Moss. Definitely trying to get the ball deeper downfield, it feels like, already this year. As we have another empty set. 3 up top, 2 down to the bottom. Will be a throw to the bottom, and dropped by Moss. And that's just another instance of why I want to find a receiving back. We got 30 seconds left, a timeout in our pocket, but it's 4th and 7. We're going to shorten the route here of Kincaid. Need that just at the line to gain. Maybe that'll open things up. Instead, we go Nakua, who does get the catch. It was whiffed by the linebacker who nearly ended our drive, but instead we're down to the 6. No timeouts remaining. Jordan Love just threaded that one to our receiver. As we have Patrick here, I want you to go just on a plain out route. Have that go a little bit deeper towards the goal line. See if that opens things up here for us on the drag. It's Kincaid, but it gets jumped. And off to the races. Tim Patrick gets the stop, but we should have had at least some amount of points at the end of that drive. Instead, it's another interception. But as we hit halftime, we are down 7. And we're going to need our defense to get the stop here for us. Although I can't remember if we actually started with the ball or not, so not sure if Madden broke there at halftime or not. Either way, it's the Rams with possession and a first down. A sack coming in for Malik Spiller. He's the second-year defensive lineman. That's 2 sacks today. Not for him, but for the defensive line. 3rd and 11. They get 11 and the first down, keeping their drive going. 7 more to Austin Eckler. 4 more yards to Mayer and another first down. 7 more yards Eckler. We're giving up some, not like chunks, but like consistent good yardage as they pick up another first down there. They get inside the red zone. We'll definitely watch. Loss of 3 there. 2nd and 13. They get 11. 3rd and 1. They get the first. Looking to add more to their lead. They're up 10-3 inside the red zone. Herbert stepping up and overthrowing his target, though he is 17 of 21 on the day, so he's been pretty solid. As it's now 2nd and 10 with 2 receivers down the bottom, 1 up top. Will be another throw. Having to step up, gonna scramble, tuck and running inside the 10 for the first down before getting dropped by 33. I want to say Blackman, perhaps? Or actually, no, I believe that's with Johnson, one of the outside corners. I want to say Jalen Johnson with a 1st and goal here. It will be Herbert up top, has a lone receiver, Chenault into the end zone, doubling their lead. Well, we need an answer quickly, and Anakwe is definitely not going to help out. 2nd and 10, we get 7 to Kincaid. 3rd and 3, a sack for Ojabo. Definitely not helping us answer quickly. Rams have an opportunity to make this a 3-score game here as we get an interception. Cody Barton back in the starting lineup after Bobby Wags retires. We have the ball back to end this 3rd quarter with a first down catch to Zach Moss. As we continue on to start the 4th quarter, 27 yards Romeo Dobbs, and we're right back in. Now this is an opportunity we cannot miss out on. Need 2 touchdowns without giving up any more points. We're at the 9. We hand this one off Moss. Did not get much of a lead block. I want to say it was Christensen, but we're down to the 4. And from there, we'll go under center with a tight single back look here. Maybe a hot route from Love, as it will be a throw. Going deep down the middle, finding Kincaid in tight coverage. He's threaded a few needles today. He's also had a few interceptions. But we're now back in this game. And it all started with the defense getting the interception. Can we get another one? Gain of 4, something, at least a stop as we do give up the first down to Van Jefferson. 5 more yards, Austin Eckler. They've been getting big chunk after just consistent play down the middle. At least 5 yards, it seems like almost every play. As they get another 5 with a first down. They're inside the 25, inside the red zone. So the defense definitely struggling in this one to make consistent plays. Can't really rely on interceptions, though. We've only given up 17 points, so it's a little bit of hit or miss. Good pass breakup there, Jalen Johnson. Believe we also had help maybe from Blackman. The amount of times I've assumed it's been Blackman and it's not is a bit insane, as we do not get the stop. Barton gets the tackle, but it's after the first down. And, you know, maybe just don't spread out the defensive line so much. You got a guy head up on the center, and then the next guys are outside the tackles. You're going to give up a lot of rushing yards lining up like that. And apparently they heard me. So as we start inside the 2-minute warning here, we do have a heavier set, though. So do the Rams as they go down the middle with some space. It's Eckler inside the 5, another first down, and already having to call timeouts. We can't really afford to give up any points here. This is going to be a single back set. Go the stretch down to the bottom. Eckler down to the 1 and stood up. 1 timeout remains. 2nd and goal. Not quite a goal line set, but it's still a heavy set. As a motion over Tony. Fake the jet sweep, handed off. Eckler stood up by, I want to say, Fotu. 3rd and goal. No timeouts remain. Same set. As they hand it off, Eckler can walk it in. They ran the D-line out of the play, and once again, they take a 2-score lead. Well, let's see if we can help this offense score quickly. As again, we are down 14 points, no timeouts. Minute 42 on the clock. They got a single high safety. Who are we going to find open? A dump off is going to get to Kincaid, but it's only a gain of 4. Got to get back to the line quickly. They will check out of the single high. If we could get Kincaid down the seam, that would be nice. Though they pinch the coverage down the middle, we're going to have a guy coming on the later crossing route. It's Tim Patrick. Trucks through a defender. We're down close to the 40. Opposite 40. Back to the line once again quickly here. Keeping with the 2 high safeties. Dobbs covered pretty well. We got Nakua going over the top. It's going to be 2 guys in coverage, and they knock it away. We've definitely left some points on the field today, and those points are close to the deficit we have. 2nd and 10 now. As we're going to try to get that one out to Nakua, but the rush right down the middle hits home. Got to get back to the line quickly here. 3rd and 17. As the clock is ticking, under 20 seconds left. We're still down 2 scores. We would need a touchdown pretty much on this play. So we'll toss it up. It's Tim Patrick. Knocked away. 4th and 17, 12 seconds left. Needing at least a 1st down here. Would have to get out of bounds if anything's to happen. As we go to Dobbs, it's tipped away, and that'll be game. A loss in week 1. But unfortunately, that is nothing new with this series. Just 3 wins last year. We're going to need this team to rebound quickly. Got to score more than 10 points in a game. Defense only allowing 24. Solid. And through the remainder of the first quarter of the season, we would see some mixed play. We won 2, we lost 2, and we're now 2 and 3. Colts game, it was close. 21-7, though that required more of us trying to come back later on in that one. But the yardage totals, fairly similar. Jordan Love, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception in that game, completing 71% of his throws. Bijan Robinson was Bijan Robinson, had a pretty solid game. So did Moss, but no touchdowns. We did give up 1 to the backup running back in Blackshear and Sidney Sherrill. So their backup running back scored touchdowns. Romeo Dobbs had a good game, though, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. Blocking-wise, Richter was the one that gave up a sack. And defensively, 9 tackles for Jalen Johnson and Cody Barton led the team. We had only 2 tackles for a loss, though, 1 from Spiller, 1 by Lloyd. We did not have any sacks. We did not have any interceptions. Kicking-wise, it was a 2-for-2 extra point day for Matt Gay. No field goals attempted. In the following week, we would actually win big, 34-16, but that was through a massive 4th quarter. We were not scoring consistently through that game, and we somehow put up 34 points with only 285 offensive yards. We actually forced 3 defensive turnovers, and those were all interceptions off of Kirk Cousins, who threw 1 touchdown. Meanwhile, it was the opposite for Jordan Love. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He completed 70% of his throws. Zach Moss continuing to be pretty solid. Taylor also really solid. Receiving wise, Ayuk, 5 catches, 59 yards. We gave up a touchdown to Rashee Rice. We did get a touchdown for Romeo Dobbs, who continues to do pretty well. And we got another touchdown from Dalton Kincaid and N'Keal Harry. Now in this game, Garrett Boyles did give up 2 sacks, though we had 4 sacks in this one. And those happened to go to 1 for Weeks, 1 for Spiller, 1 for Diabate, and then split between Dennard and Sharp. So a lot of these young guys are making plays in the backfield. Tackles for a loss, 1 for Sharp, 1 for Blackman, and our leading tackler was Dennard. We did get multiple interceptions, Jalen Johnson with 1, Julian Blackman with 1, and Cody Barton with 1. Kicking, 4 of 5 on extra points, so we did miss 1 there, but again, no field goals attempted. In the following week, we would lose another divisional game, this one to the Seattle Seahawks, 24-16, and we're just not scoring very consistently, but once again, yardage totals very similar. We did have 2 turnovers, one of which was an interception for Jordan Love. He did not throw a touchdown in this game, completed just 47% of his passes. Truly bad. Algier did have 2 touchdowns, a running back we could try to bring in, and we gave up 1 more to McLaughlin. Now, what has me confused is we didn't have a throwing touchdown nor a rushing touchdown, so that could only mean to me that we got a defensive touchdowns. In terms of just our overall defensive stats, we did have 4 tackles for a loss, 1 for Fotu, Burgess, Tonga, and Vinoy. Sack-wise, 1 for Burgess, 1 for Spiller. He's showed up every single game, which is great. And then split between Tonga and Lloyd. Interception-wise, no. Forced fumbles? No. So how did we score any touchdowns? That is the confusing part. 1 of 1 for extra points, 3 for 3 on field goals. Did we have any kick returns? No. How did we score any touchdowns? I am extremely confused because we at least scored a touchdown in the second quarter. The rest were field goals. Did I miss backups? No. Who scored touchdowns? Is there one hidden down the board? No, I am extremely confused on how we scored. Don't know. Though, not confusing in the next game, as we would put up 34 points, shutting out the Lions offense. With a little over 350 offensive yards, only giving up under 150. We did not force any turnovers, though, in this game. Jordan Love, 3 touchdowns on 238 yards, completing 65% of his passes. Meanwhile, Dak Prescott, nothing across the board. Rushing, Zach Moss, 4.7 yards a carry, no touchdowns. Kenny Whitfield, though, did get a touchdown, and that was the only rushing touchdown. Receiving-wise, Dalton Kincaid, near 100 yards and a touchdown. Ayuk, another touchdown, around 70 yards. Puka Nacua not getting a whole lot, though I did find out Madden once again changed my depth chart because that's what Madden loves to do. Romeo Doubs, 2 catches, 21 yards, and a touchdown. Meanwhile, over on defense, leading tackler is actually kind of spread out. Lloyd and Weeks both with 5, who Weeks had 3 tackles for a loss, same as Spiller. So those young defensive linemen playing well. Quarterback sacks, 1 more for the rookie in Sharp, and then split between Weeks and Spiller. So young guys coming alive. Gotta love to see that at least. No interceptions. Any forced fumbles? No. Kicking, 4 for 4 in extra points, 2 for 2 on field goals. And that leaves us at an interesting point of the season. Because obviously we've played okay, but we haven't played great. We could be 3-2. We had a close game there, but we are well below the Seahawks, who we did lose to. They're 5-0. We lost to the Rams. They're 3-2. 49ers are 2-3. Same as us. So hard to say we could really make a comeback to win the division. Depends on if the Seahawks fall. But we may be able to still make a run for the NFC Conference Championship. No one's really pulled away here. Buccaneers, who we play today, they're 3-2, or played next. They're 3-2, so I mean that could be a quick switch. So the season by no means is done. It's really a stockpile at the end of the first quarter. So let's get a little bit further along and see if we could turn things around, build upon what we just did in week 5, where we won 34-0. And through the bye week, they would do just that, rattling off 4 straight wins. In week 6 against the Buccaneers, a 31-21 win, in which 2 touchdowns, no interceptions for Love, 81% completion. We averaged 3.8 yards a rush and a touchdown with Moss. Ayuk near 100 yards and a touchdown. Nacua got a touchdown. Overall, solid performance from the offense. Defensively, we continue to spread out the tackles. Tackles for a loss, none in that game. 1 sack, though, another one by Malik Spiller, and the interception goes to Devin Lloyd. In the following game, it was a little bit closer against the Jaguars, 14-7. We ended up on top with more than double their amount of offensive yards. In that one, Jordan Love, 1 touchdown, no interception, 71% completion. Moss, 4 yards a carry. Romeo Doubs, the leading receiver. We did get a touchdown to Dalton Kincaid. Over on defense, again, spreading the love in the tackles. Tackles for a loss, 2 for Adrian Sharp, 1 for Diabate and Spiller, who just continues to play well. No sacks in that one, though, as Taron Johnson got the interception. We then had another close game, but we pulled it out late. And by pull it out, I mean we just didn't give it up. As we gave up 15 points in the fourth, we won 28-25 against the Rams. So we split that series, despite also giving up near 50 more offensive yards for them. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions for Jordan Love. Completed 74% of his throws. Austin Eckler did well. Moss, not as good in comparison, but still solid. We did give up a rushing touchdown to Herbert and Thomas, though. Receiving-wise, Mayer continued to have a good game against us. Debo had a touchdown. Puka had another touchdown, and 2 for Ayuk on just 5 catches. Defensively, Cody Barton led both teams in tackles with 10, though still keeping those pretty well even. Tackles for a loss, 3 this time by Malik Spiller, 1 for Barton and 1 by Diabate. 1 sack went to Damian Weeks. Interceptions, none. And finally against the Saints, another win, this time 10 points, not as close, 34-24, though we did give up more yards than we had offensively, but still got the win. 3 touchdowns for Love, no interceptions. Bryce Young, 2 touchdowns, though we had 74% completion and Young just 57. So defense seemed to do pretty well there despite giving up some points. Brian Robinson ran pretty well, over 5 yards, a carry, and a touchdown. Moss just 3.6, though Eno Benjamin did get a touchdown in the game. Receiving-wise, Devontae Parker had a good game. Nakua, 80 yards, no touchdowns in that one, but Ayuk did get the touchdown as well as Dobbs. And Julian Blackmon led us with tackles in this one. Tackles for a loss, another one by Malik Spiller. He's got to be our defensive MVP. At least it feels like. Adrian Sharp did have another tackle for a loss. 1 sack went to Weeks. These young guys really showing strong here. As we have now gone past the Week 10 bye, we are in Week 11. And we have now climbed up to second in our division. 6-3, Seahawks have only lost 1 game. If we look at the standings in total for the NFC, we are actually sitting pretty well. If we were to be in the playoffs, wildcard weekend this week, we would be the 6th seed. Right now above us, obviously Seahawks going to sit at that number 1 spot. They've been to back-to-back Super Bowls. Kind of, obviously, with the crash, it kind of changed that. But for the real ones, yes, they back-to-back Super Bowls. The Eagles, Bears, Vikings, and Cowboys are above us, though the Vikings and Cowboys and sit at the same record. So we just cannot afford to trip up, as the Rams were also just a few games behind, or a few spots behind, though we've already completed the series against them. And the next divisional game is in Week 13 against the 49ers. We need to be able to keep up this pace here if we're to make it to the playoffs. The big game, though, for us is going to be against the Seahawks. But we don't play against them until Week 17. We have 2 games against the 49ers in 3 weeks. But besides that, I don't think any of these other teams that we're playing against, at least were above us in the NFC. Didn't really check the AFC. But as long as we could keep things going, as we've seen, that Week 17 might be pretty big for the playoff picture. We just got to keep this rolling. But we would trip up the next couple weeks, losing 24-17 against the Titans and then a 30-24 overtime loss to the Browns. Defense has kind of dropped off a little bit these last couple games in terms of just giving up a lot of completions. Tua had 75% complete in this game, only 1 touchdown, but they continued to just move the ball consistently and ended up getting scores. In the Titans game, pretty similar, as Geno Smith, 70% completed, 2 touchdowns for him, and that leaves us in a tough spot as these 2 losses have definitely impacted us. Again, remember, we were the 6th seed. Now we've dropped a good little bit further down to the 9th seed, if there were. And on top of that, the Rams have jumped all the way up to the 2nd seed. So the Seahawks and Rams, 2 division rivals, are doing extremely good. And in 2 of the next 3 games, we face another division rival, though not doing as good in the 49ers. They are 5-6, though, 1 game behind us. If we cannot beat them this week, they will jump ahead of us. So I think it's time that we jump into a little bit of some quarter sim and see if we could get back on track. Now this first game is an away one, which is the tougher of the 2. Though we do grab a touchdown before the end of the first quarter, though. Not much point scoring there. We're up 7-0 as we continue through the second quarter. Game now level. Going towards halftime, they take the lead, and we answer back with a field goal. Keeping it close, 14-10, though we are down to start the second half. Going through the third quarter here. Need to retake a lead, but it's the 49ers who extend it 21-10 as we hit the fourth quarter. Seems like our offense has really slowed down. Needs something from our defense here. 3rd and 2. They pick up the first down with Jaylen Warren, who's doing pretty hot so far in this drive. It's been all him. 3rd and 1, and Baker Mayfield picks up the first down. Another 6 going to Warren. Another 4 leaving 3rd and inches, and 13 to Pat Freiermuth. Half of the fourth quarter gone. We are still down 11 points. 3rd and 8. They get 12. Defense has been struggling as they're now inside the 5 with another touchdown. We had it in our own play to make it to the playoffs, but right now it is slipping away. As we're down 18 points here, we hit the 2-minute warning. Need some touchdowns quickly. We're getting some chunk plays, lots of Dobbs, but we need touchdowns. And there's about a minute left, and we are still down a good bit. A penalty backs us up. We get 6 to Nakua. And a touchdown to Zach Moss, but with under 50 seconds left. Down 11 once again, and we do not recover the onside. That will be another loss. In division, the 49ers overtake us as we drop to the bottom. And to make matters even worse, we would lose the next 2 games, 31-28 in both, including the second game against the 49ers, solidifying pretty much our spot at the bottom of our division once again. Against the Panthers, we gave up 431 offensive yards. Jordan Love, 2 touchdowns, 76% completion. But again, Mac Jones, 73% completion. We're just defense falling apart. James Cook over 100 yards, 120 and a touchdown. Moss, not his best game, though we did get 2 touchdowns to Eno Benjamin on 2 carries. Receiving, Mooney, great game. Ayuk had a good game. Nakua, good game. Kincaid did have a good game, and we'll talk about him shortly. As for the defense, Cody Barton, 18 tackles. Lloyd, 12. So we were flying around, but it's because they just keep... I'm assuming it was a short, quick passing game that they just kept connecting on over and over again. Tackles for a loss, we had quite a bit. 2 for Spiller, 1 for Barton, Tonga, Dennard, and Fotu. Sacks, still not getting any. But at least we did get an interception with Marcus Williams. But in that second matchup against the 49ers, we would give up 17 points in the fourth quarter, so the defense now seeming like they're letting us down. Love, 3 touchdowns, 79% completion. Mayfield, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 70% completion. Moss had a good game, about 10 yards a carry and a touchdown. And Kenneth Walker did really good. So they were out Walker, it seemed like, in that previous game, and we still struggled to stop Warren. We do the same pretty much in this one. So defense definitely struggling. Jamar Chase, great game. Ayuk, good game. We had an issue with Freiermuth. We did get a touchdown to Dalton Kincaid, but again, we'll talk about him shortly. And Puka Nakua did get a touchdown. Defensively, 11 tackles led us with Lloyd, or both teams with Lloyd. As for tackles for a loss, 4, 1 for Sharp, Fotu, Tonga, and Davidson. And back finally with a sack was Adrian Sharp. Interception went to Jalen Johnson. But to just kick us while we're already down, we suffered 2 big injuries. Dalton Kincaid, torn rotator cuff, done for the year, and maybe we'll get back in time for the beginning of next season, though might even miss a little bit of that. And the rookie center in Gavin Richter did end up partially tearing his PCL, so his season is also done. But pretty much is our season at 6-8. If we win out, we'll at least be positive in the record book, but still not great. We are now dropping way down here. We're a below average team. And unless a bunch of teams lose and a lot of luck goes our way late on, our season is pretty much over. And that would be solidified as we would lose the next 2 games, including one to the Seahawks, 32-31. And I mentioned earlier that I doubted the Seahawks are really going to fall off, but they kind of did. They were, I want to say, 8-1 at one point, and they finished 10-6. So if we didn't also just completely fall off the rails, we could have potentially won this division this year. But instead, it's the Rams. And they're going to be potentially the number 1 seed. Last we checked, they were the 2. And yeah, they are the number 1 seed. Seahawks barely make it. The 49ers just on the outside looking in. So depending on what happens in this final week, it might once again be everyone else in our division making the playoffs and us not. But to hopefully try to round out the season on somewhat of a happy note, how about we jump into the fourth quarter here of the last game, watch it drive from both sides, and then finish off what ultimately was a disappointing season 3. So as we start moving our way there, we do get some points in the first, but ultimately we're down at 7-3, and it looked like the Giants are about to tack on some more points, or we actually get the stop, and we take a lead. 17-7, they'll give up a touchdown. Going towards halftime, we do grab some more points before half, so it is 10 points at half, 24-14. We'll get through the third quarter, and then we will jump in for a little bit of some action as it looked like we're about to score. So as we do begin this fourth quarter, we are down at the 22. We're up 24-14. A little bit of some play action. Love trying to roll out and throws it away to avoid the sack. He's 24 of 28, 248 and 3 touchdowns. Ultimately, I think he's actually had a pretty good season. The defense just took their foot off the gas after starting so hot, and honestly, I'll be honest, I didn't check the depth chart, and I'm assuming as we lose some yards there to Nakua, I'm assuming Madden changed the depth chart once again, and because of that, it had players playing where they're not supposed to or just not playing, and we just saw our production drop off. 3rd and 11, though. It's going to be an interception thrown right at, is that Walker? No, Reddick gets the interception, so this drive did not end very well. Well, let's see if our defense can answer. I at least see some of the young guys out there. We have Spiller, big number 90, 54 is the outside backer whose names I just keep forgetting. Throw across the middle is going to be caught. Gain of 6. Though, as I say, I don't remember. I want to say it's like Sharper or something along those lines. 2nd and 4 will be a throw from the pocket. Sam Howell rolling towards the top. Sharper forces the throw away, and I'm just going to roll with it being Sharper until proven wrong. But I feel like I've said that name a whole lot. Diabate, the outside backer down to the bottom. Haven't seen him do a whole lot in terms of sacks yardage, as there's a big play and a whiff by Blackman, headed down the side and down to the red zone. Maybe some sloppy tackling like that is the reason that we started to give up so much. As they essentially flip the field here, Howell from the pocket once again. Rolling around, Diabate provides pressure, but it's a great throw, finding a big number 16 for a gain of 4. And that leaves them with 2nd and 6 at the 15. About 5.5 minutes left in this one. Throw up top, quick tackle there from Jalen Johnson, plus another guy. Will be a short gain for Gesicki, leaving 3rd and 3. They're at the 13, first down out the 10, and they missed the mark to Gesicki. He was wide open. Will be a field goal attempt to make it a touchdown game. They'll be kicking from just inside that 20, so make it about a 30-yarder. As the ball is up and right between the uprights, it's back to a touchdown game. And we'll see if we get back down towards scoring range, and if so, we will jump in and finish watching, at least inside the 30. As it's 2nd and 7, a knockaway by Caden Stearns, and a throwaway means no first down and definitely not in scoring range unless our defense can make something happen here. Knocked away by Burgess, 3rd and 8. Good stop from the defense, as it still is a touchdown game. Offense, though, probably going to try to run this one out, though we do get 15 yards to Puka Nacua. With a 5 more yards back to Nacua, 2nd and 5, we lose 3, 3rd and 8 at about the 2-minute. We don't go anywhere. We actually lose a few yards, punt it back, so guess more defensive action here. Want at least a win to wrap out this season. Again, we were looking so good at that midpoint, and unfortunately, we didn't really watch any of the play while we were doing so well. We were just smooth moving and didn't want to disrupt anything, and unfortunately, it ended up disrupting itself. Hopefully, again, we just end this one on a slightly higher note as the Seahawks are losing. You see it down at the bottom, 17-14. Can continue to shake up the playoffs as there's a big hit from Lloyd breaking up that pass. We'll leave him 2nd and 10 with 2 up top, 1 down to the bottom. Under center for Sam Howell. Will be a short drop back, swatted at the line, and then a big hit from Barton at the end. Just the stamper on it. Well, that'll leave him with a 3rd and 10. Trip set up top, 1 off the screen down to the bottom. Will be from the pocket, Howell stepping up. He's going to run for this one, picking up the 1st down, sliding after a gain of about 15, maybe 16. They have 1 timeout remaining, 1:20 and counting. They need a touchdown to tie here. Pass rush not quite getting back there. They load up deep, and it's going to get picked off. Blackman, who gave up the big play last go around, he gets the big play here. And we can at least watch our offense try to run out some clock. Or apparently we could watch them kneel out some plays here. With 1:09 on the clock, it is the safer call. Have them use that last and final timeout and let this clock roll. It ended up not being a great season, though. With this win, we would have at least hit the 7-win mark. But that will wrap it out here. It is a win in Week 18. Unfortunately, no playoff play-in for us. So let's go check the stats. And as I thought, Jordan Love did actually have a pretty good season. 39 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, completed 67% of his throws for just a little under 4,000 yards. That's the best quarterback play we've had so far. Rushing-wise, Zach Moss over 1,000 yards, though only 3 touchdowns, 1 fumble. So he just wasn't scoring a lot through the running game. Not quite sure if there's a way to really improve that, though. Whitfield did have 2 touchdowns. Eno Benjamin, 4 and a fumble. N'Keal Harry ran for a touchdown, and so did Cole Turner twice. I'm assuming playing some form of fullback. As for receiving, Brandon Ayuk over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. Romeo Doubs, 845 and 8 touchdowns. Nakua, 756. Kincaid probably would have had some better stats if he didn't get injured the last good chunk of the season. 570, 6 touchdowns. N'Keal Harry filled out pretty well for him, though. He ended up getting 6 touchdowns himself, 262. Zach Moss had 3 touchdowns, and Cole Turner had 1. Blocking-wise, don't quite trust it, but Bulls here, supposedly 10 sacks, 7 for the rookie, so not fantastic. Freeland had 6, 4 for Christensen, and Braden Daniels, the lowest overall of all the offensive linemen, had 2. Now, Hendricks started a little bit, and he was our starter last year. He only gave up 1. As for the defense, 111 tackles for both Devin Lloyd and Cody Barton. Tackles for a loss. Did I say tackles for a loss for tackles? Tackles for a loss. Yeah, doesn't matter. Malik Spiller, he continues to impress. 14 for him. The rookie, Adrian Sharp, 12 tackles for a loss. Tonga had 10, as well as Fotu. 8 for Barton, 6 for Weeks, 5 for Diabate, 3 for Lloyd, 3 for Dennard, 2 for Johnson and Davidson, and then 1 for Blackman, Johnson, Burgess, and Van Noy. Our sack leader split between Malik Spiller and the rookie and Damian Weeks. So we did not really see a whole lot of sacks coming in the second half of the season. Not sure why. Again, maybe depth chart was changed. Madden loves to do that despite me telling it to not do that. Adrian Sharp, the rookie, finishes with 3.5 sacks, 1 for Barton, Diabate, and Burgess. So we potentially need another outside guy because 1 sack from a guy who played every single week is not good enough. Tonga had half. Lloyd and Dennard both have half. Our interception leader, 3 for Julian Blackman, 2 for Barton, Lloyd, Johnson, and Johnson, and then 1 for Burgess and Williams. Forced fumbles, just 2, Lloyd and Spiller. Spiller recovered 1, and that was the only one we recovered. Kicking 51 of 52 on extra points, and then 14 of 16 for Matt Gay. If you like punting stats, 50 yards an average, 7 inside the 20, 10 being touchbacks. So a very interesting season. You know, we started off a little shaky, started to build up. We're really good. We had a streak of 5 straight wins, and then after that, we just jumped off a cliff, essentially, and we finished 7 and 10. It's a lot better of a season than we had in previous, and something to at least build upon. The defensive line shows some promise. More guys could be added if available. But it's another year that we don't make the playoffs. We are in an extremely tough division. In fact, did the 49ers end up making the playoffs? No. And surprisingly, the Seahawks, who are at one point again were 8-1, nearly fell out of the playoffs. They were the 5th seed. Rams, 1st seed, and then if there was probably an 8th seed, it probably would have been the 49ers. So, tough division. We got to find ways to get wins in our division. If we do, I think that will be our season. But Love is the quarterback for us of the future. We haven't really had any options pop up in the draft, and we don't have any options in this draft. There was a promising running back. We'll talk about that next time. So make sure you hit that bell icon on the bottom right or scroll down, hit that subscription button, and definitely tap the bell icon so you're notified of when these videos go live. This series every single Wednesday and Saturday, with our traditional Rams franchise every single Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. That one is under a little bit of construction, as we saw a little bit while playing with the team today. User-wise, the passing game seems kind of broke, so we're trying to fix that. Make sure to check out that series if you have the same problem. So until next time, where we will have season 4, we'll see you guys then. Bye.